of these diseases have a genetic component. Addiction has a genetic component. And the way science begins to address the genetic component, ideally, would be to isolate the actual genetic makeup that causes the addiction. But in light of that, there are some correlates that are very important. And we can gain information from what we refer to as the twin studies. That is when we look at identical twins and we begin to look at what is the correlation in terms or the probability of if one twin has a condition, what's the probability that the other twin will have the condition. And we find that the condition is for diabetes, it's between 0.5 and 0.7. For asthma, it's between 0.3 and 0.5. And for hypertension, it's between 0.4 and 0.6. And when we look at it for addiction, it's between 0.35 and 0.6. So it's right in the range with other chronic illnesses as far as genetic heritability goes. So we do have evidence that addiction, like these other chronic illnesses, have a genetic foundation. Now, the third issue that's often raised is the issue of personal responsibility. That is, if you're diabetic, if you have hypertension, if you have asthma, these are illnesses that you didn't cause. But if you're an addict, you actually make the choice to take that drink, to use those drugs. And that is true. But there's also some, and this gets involved back with the genetic heritability. There's the issue that the use for one person may be fine and not lead to addiction or severe substance use disorder. That same level of use by another person may in fact lead to out of control and not being able to make those choices. And I give the example in some of the classes that I teach of a set of twins, women from the Midwest who go off to college. And they were raised in a very protective environment, small town Midwest. And they go off to college. The one twin stays connected with her childhood, with her high school sweetheart. He becomes the athlete at college and ends up graduating and taking a job as the swim coach at the local high school. And she moves back to her small town. Her other sister decides she's going to try an acting career in New York. And she goes off to New York and gets a joint apartment in the Village. And within time, she gets introduced to cocaine. And she uses this recreationally on weekends, and before long, not too long, she becomes addicted to cocaine. And the other woman who goes home, has children, raises her children, stays involved in the church and her money, but yet they were identical twins, and they're both of them, their outcomes were quite different. Well, that's when we have to deal with the issue of environmental effects. Even though we may have the genetic propensity, they might have equal propensity for addiction. The one was put in an environment where it became much more likely and supported, and the other was in an environment where it was not likely, and her not doing cocaine was very much supported in that community.